And welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing some awesome slow cooker recipes with you. So fall is right around the corner. It's my favorite time of year and I love using my slow cooker in the fall. I mean, let's face it, I love using my slow cooker all year long because it's awesome. But for some reason, using my slow cooker in the fall is just one of my favorite ways to cook dinner. Maybe because I can make many different things like soup, which is one of my favorite things to make for my family, or chili, or just all these different fall and cozy recipes that I could make in my slow cooker. So in today's video, I have 4 awesome recipes to share with you and I can't wait to show you. So let's go get started on the video. So the first recipe I have to share with you is actually a spin on a true classic. It's pot roast sandwiches. I love this meal. It's a great way to switch up your traditional pot roast. The sandwiches always come out so good and any picky eater will love them. All right, let's get on to the recipe. So here's the lineup of ingredients you're going to need for this recipe. You're going to need a round roast or a chuck roast. You're also going to need 1 can of beef broth. I went with low sodium beef broth. You're going to need 1 packet of Italian dressing mix, some minced garlic, and then just some salt and pepper to season your roast with. So the first thing I did was trim and prep my roast. So I just trimmed off any visible fat from the roast and then I just lightly seasoned it with the Kinder's blend seasoning, which is just salt, pepper, and garlic. It's one of my favorite seasonings. So if you don't have this, no worries. Just lightly season with some salt and pepper on all sides. I also cut my roast in half because I food savored 1/2 of this and put it in my freezer for a future meal. And then I just kept the other half to make for this dinner tonight. So then I got some olive oil into my cast iron skillet. I rubbed that all around with a paper towel and I heated it up. I then added in my roast to brown it. So you're not cooking it here. I just want to point that out. You just want to brown it enough to get a nice little crust on all sides of your roast before adding it into your crock pot. So while my roast was browning, I made up the sauce. So I added 1 can of low sodium beef broth to my measuring cup. I then added in 1 packet of Italian dressing mix and about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic and I whisked it all together. Once my roast was done browning, I moved it into my crock pot where I poured the sauce mixture all over it. I then put my lid on and I set my crock pot to cook on high for 4 hours. Once the roast was done, I shredded it with 2 forks right in the liquid so it can soak up some more of that yummy juice, and then I topped the pot roast onto some lightly toasted buns and I added some shredded iceberg lettuce and some sliced provolone cheese on top. I just served this alongside some steamed green beans and I also added a little bowl that I put some of the juice in from the crock pot to dip our sandwiches into. This is such a great and easy dinner and it's delicious for any fall night. All right, so this recipe is a true comfort meal. It's Italian chicken and pasta. It comes together so easily. It only requires a handful of ingredients and I'm sure most of these ingredients you already have in your fridge and pantry. So let's go get started on the recipe. Here's everything you're going to need for this recipe. So you're going to need some chicken breasts. I just have 2 large chicken breasts here, which was plenty for my family of 4, just 2 adults and 2 young kids. And then you'll need some form of seasoning. So I just went with the blend seasoning. Like I said earlier, it's my favorite, but you could just use salt and pepper if you don't have anything else, no problem. You also need some Parmesan cheese, some cream cheese, and a bottle of your favorite Italian dressing. So as you can see here, I was low on my Italian dressing, so I also threw in some of this Greek dressing in as well. And then you'll also need some of your favorite pasta. So to start, I just added in my chicken breast into the crock pot where I lightly seasoned it with some of the Kinder seasoning. Make sure to not add too much salt when seasoning your chicken breast here because the dressing that we'll be adding in has plenty of sodium. Add some extra pepper if you'd like that though, which I did here. Next, you're going to want to add in about 3/4 to 1 bottle of the Italian dressing. It just depends on how much chicken you have. And then you're going to also want to add in about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese and about 8 ounces of cream cheese. So I only had whipped cream cheese, which was fine. Use whatever you have. I then got my lid onto my crock pot and I cooked this on high for 4 hours. Just before my chicken was done, I cooked up my pasta. I then shredded my chicken with 2 forks and I add my cooked pasta right into the crock pot and I mixed it all up. So I just made up a green salad that I topped with some tomatoes and cheddar cheese to go alongside the pasta, and I also cooked up some garlic bread to go with it too. This is such a delicious and super easy dinner. It only requires 5 ingredients. I really think you'll enjoy this one if you decide to make it. All right, so the next recipe is one of my favorite fall recipes, and it's creamy spinach tortellini and sausage. So this recipe is actually a dinner I thought my 2 kids, my 2-year-old and my 6-year-old, wouldn't really care for when I made it for them the first time, but they actually gobbled it up. And I can hide spinach in this meal super easily because it cooks down and you can hardly tell there's spinach in it. They love it. So this is a great meal for any picky eater. I can't wait to share it with you. Let's go get started on it. Here's everything you're going to need for this recipe. So you're going to need 1 frozen bag of cheese tortellini, 1 pound of your favorite sausage, 1 can of low sodium chicken broth, 1 jar of your favorite tomato sauce, and about 3 ounces or so of some fresh spinach. The first thing I did was cook up the sausage, and if you want to drain off some of the fat before adding it into the crock pot, then just take a paper towel and pick up a little bit of that fat from the pan. I then added the cooked sausage right into the crock pot. I also added in a bag of the frozen cheese tortellini here, and then I added in the fresh spinach. I topped that with the jar of tomato sauce and then the can of low sodium chicken broth, and then I just lightly seasoned with some salt and pepper, and I gave it all a good mix. I put the lid on my crock pot and I cooked this on low for 3 hours. Once this was done cooking, I just dished this up right into a bowl and I topped it with some Parmesan cheese, and I served it alongside some toasted bread that I had topped with some butter. This meal made the house smell so good all day long. We couldn't wait to get into this. It was delicious, a true fall comfort meal, so good and flavorful. Alright, so the last recipe I have to share with you are Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. This is such a good recipe and so easy to make, and they're super addicting. I'm sure you'll go back for seconds. Let's go get started on the recipe. Here's everything you're going to need for this meal. You're going to need some round roast or chuck roast, either one will do, some bell peppers and any colors will do, an onion, garlic, 1 can of beef broth, 1 can of French onion condensed soup, some salt and pepper just to season your roast with, some sandwich rolls, and lastly some provolone cheese. So the first thing I did was prep my roast, so I just lightly seasoned it with the blend seasoning. If you don't have that, just do salt and pepper, no worries, and just make sure to lightly season because we're going to be adding in some extra salt with some of the soups that we're putting into this. I then drizzled some olive oil into my cast iron pan and I smeared it all around and I heated that up, and once it was heated I put my roast in and I made sure to get it brown on all sides. So just like the pot roast sandwiches from earlier, you're not cooking the meat here, you're just wanting to make sure to brown it and get that nice crust on all sides. So once it was done, I just added my roast into my crock pot. I then took the pan that I had browned my roast in and I got it back on my burner to heat it back up. I then added in my can of beef broth and I scraped the bottom of the pan. So this part is completely optional, but I wanted to get all of the flavor and caramelization that the roast left on the pan, and I feel like it really adds a lot to this recipe. So while that was heating up, I sliced up 1 onion and then I sliced up my 2 bell peppers. I added my sliced onions and my sliced bell peppers right into my crock pot, and then I topped this with about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I then poured in the beef broth that I had heating up in my cast iron skillet right into the crock pot, and I poured the French onion soup right on top. I mixed this all up and I put the lid on and I cooked it on low for about 6 hours. So once it was all done cooking, I just removed the beef and then I thinly sliced it. I also decided to toast my sandwich rolls, and then I topped each roll with some of the sliced beef and then the onion and pepper mixture and then some sliced provolone cheese. Then put the sandwiches into my oven to sit under the broiler for just a few, just to melt the cheese. And make sure to watch your sandwiches at this point because they can burn so quickly under the broiler and ruin your dinner. I've learned my lesson the hard way many times. So there you have it. I served this alongside some Caesar salad and some of the juice to dip our sandwiches into. This recipe is so good and easy and perfect for any busy weeknight. Alright everyone, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you're new here, I would love to have you, so make sure to subscribe down below, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!